Can we go to the next slide, please, Madeline? There we go. Well, thank you for the opportunity to come and talk about voting and our plans and preparations for the November election. We're in full election mode right now, and we've been working very hard. The whole team has been working very hard, and a lot of our plans and preparations are finally coming together in some detail. So some of the information that I'm going to share with you today really hasn't previously been shared just because of where we're at in the cycle. Next slide. So the elections in the United States were declared part of the national critical infrastructure in 2016 because of the foreign interference in the election. And when the governor issued his emergency declaration in March, he designated elections and election staff as essential workers. And we take that challenge and very seriously. We seriously believe in what we do, and we're committed to serving democracy and the voters in our county. And I think it's really important for Contra Costa County voters to know that we really do have America's best election team. And as we talk through some of the preparations and plans that we have, I think you'll understand why I feel so confident in saying that. Next slide. We have an award-winning team here, nationally recognized for our excellence. Next slide. It always takes a lot of work and effort to prepare for a presidential election. And we've known for years that this is going to be a historic election. We started planning over a year ago. So last summer, as we sat down and we started doing our plans, we focused on cybersecurity and wildfires as being two challenges that we needed to be planning for and planning around as we went into, as we made our plans for the November election. And as we went into the fall, all of a sudden we found a new challenge that cropped up is when we started having the public safety power shutdowns. So we started to incorporate contingency plans for those things as well. And then as we were coming down the home stretch for the March primary election, we had the sudden departure of our clerk. But things never missed a beat. The elections division kept firing on all cylinders, and we rolled out into March's primary election with a great plan and actually a great election. But just as we were starting to vote in that election, we had the coronavirus pandemic hit us and be declared. And we worked through that and completed the canvass of the March election while the shelter-at-home orders were issued. And we were able to complete our work anyway. And since that time, we've been working from home. The entire elections division has been working at home for months, and we're going to be bringing our full cohort of folks back into the office starting next week so we can continue to prepare for the November election. And as we continue to make our plans and refine our plans, we found that we continue to have new challenges that we need to take into account. We have the economic shutdown, we have social unrest, and most recently we've had the politicization of the USPS. It makes us wonder, okay, what else is going to happen? The doctor talked about the flu coming back in the fall, and there are reports that certain political parties might have law enforcement patrolling polls on election day to secure the vote. So next slide. So we've taken all those things into account, and we've put together our plan for the election. And what has changed? We get asked that all the time. What has changed? And for most voters, there's not going to be any visible changes. 75% of our voters already have requested their ballot by mail, and they get it and they voted, and everything's going to look almost identical to them. There's another 25% who are going to be mailed a ballot for the very first time, which is about 160,000 voters. For them, it's going to look a little bit different. And as we've refined our plans to accommodate all these challenges, we found that we only need to expand our existing programs. We started our Dropbox program back in 2014, and we had Vote Center / early voting since 2016. So basically, we've modified and just scaled what we're already doing. So most of those changes will really be behind the scenes and not really visible to most people. Next slide. So I'm going to talk about some of the things that we've done to enhance our vote-by-mail processes and plans, to expand our Dropbox program, to expand early voting, and how we're maintaining our election day polling places, and touch briefly on some of the PPE and distancing protocols and countermeasures that we're putting in place. But before I talk in detail about those, next slide. We're asked all the time, what are the timelines, when are the ballots going out? So just briefly, on September 24th, our voter information guide is scheduled to be mailed to all voters in the county. And on October 5th or earlier, we will mail all the ballots out to voters. And in-person voting will begin in Martinez. We've moved it outside of our office to the former Moose Lodge, or it's now a Cornerstone Church, right across the street from our office. So we can have social distancing and health protocols in place. We will open all of our ballot drop boxes as of that day, and we'll begin receiving ballots. So on October 29th, we will have 16 early voting sites open up. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. And on November 3rd, Election Day, we will have our full complement of polling places. That's also the postmark deadline for people who are returning their ballots by mail. And one of the changes made by the governor and the legislature in response to the current pandemic is that they will allow us to accept and count ballots received by November 20th, provided that they have been postmarked on or before Election Day. Next slide. Okay, some of the things we've done for vote by mail is we've upgraded our USPS accounts to speed delivery and enable ballot tracking. We've expanded the use of first class mail. Typically we mail, because of the large number of ballots that we mail them at a bulk rate. We will mail the first major mailing will be at the bulk rate, but after that, starting at 30 days prior to the election, all ballots mailed out will be sent out first class. We have included I voted stickers. Oops, please go back. We've included I voted stickers for the first time in the ballots. That one incentive that people have of going to the polls or showing up in person, we've tried to accommodate by giving people their I voted sticker right away. We did an outreach to that 160,000 non-vote by mail voters that I mentioned earlier, that for whom this is going to be new. We mailed to them, explained what the process is, explained that they're going to get a ballot in the mail, and offered them an opportunity to update the signature that we have on file for them so we can ensure that we count their ballot when they return their ballot. And to date, we've had over 40,000 of those cards returned, updating their signatures, which is a 25% return rate, which is astronomical compared to the normal return rate we get when we talk to voters. So people are taking this seriously, and people are very focused on making sure they're prepared to have their vote counted. We're planning on getting our ballots in the mail as soon as they are ready. Our etched in stone mailing date is October 5th, but we're going to try to get them into the mail stream a week earlier, just to mitigate any delays in delivery of the mail. Now we are also advising voters that if they have not received their ballot by the 19th of October, they should contact our office by phone or by email, and we will reissue them a ballot and send them another ballot. But we need to give a little bit of transit time for the ballots to get into the hands of voters. But by the 19th, or even by the 15th, if voters don't have it, they need to let us know. Also, we are participating with the state in a program called Ballot Tracks that voters can sign up for. It's a program they have to opt into. If they do, they will receive emails and text notifications of the status of their ballot at each step of the way, from the time it's mailed to them to the time we receive it and we count it. So that's a new program. Details of all these things will be included in the voter information guide that is going out to voters. Okay, next slide. Oops. There we go. Drop boxes. Boy, the last week we've got a million questions about drop boxes, and we understand why. But again, we feel like we are way ahead of the curve. We've been doing drop boxes since 2014. Most of them have been inside city clerk offices, but because of the pandemic, a lot of the inside drop boxes are not going to be available to us. But in anticipation of the election, anyway, we ordered 3 dozen of these high security drop boxes that are open 24/7 that will be distributed around the county. So we're scaling up from 12 that we had in March to 37, and we will still have inside drop boxes where it's possible to have them. These drop boxes are a high security design to prevent tampering, and we will be servicing these boxes every day with 2 election staff. So voters can have confidence in dropping their ballots in there, that they will be received, they'll be secure, and they'll be received by us and processed by us within 24 hours. Okay, next slide. Oop, there we go. Here is the, as of today, these are the locations of the permanent drop boxes across the county. You can see that we have, they're pretty equally distributed throughout the county. Okay, next slide. Early voting. We've been doing early voting since 2016, and to be honest, it hasn't previously been a very popular or well-used service that we've offered. Those who have taken advantage of it really appreciate it. But because of the current situation, we've expanded from the 3 early voting sites that we had in March to 16 for the November elections. Each one of these will be open 4 days, including election day, and all the services, to include registering to vote, will be available at these sites. Now, in order to get enough locations and also to mitigate against wildfires and power shutdowns, we have 10 of these locations will be outdoor. They will be in these large tents. They will have their own power generation and will be completely independent of the power grid, and will give us the space that we need for social distancing and accessibility. So we're really excited about this. I believe we're the only ones in the state who are doing anything like this. But we think this is really going to augment and be a great resource to voters who need to vote early and vote in person. Okay, next slide. Okay, here's, as of today, we've almost confirmed every location, but this is where we will have our early voting locations, our in-person early voting locations. There should be a big giant pin on Martinez, because that's our office, and voting will start there 29 days, and these early vote locations will be open starting the 30th of October. So Friday, Saturday, Monday, Tuesday. Okay, next slide.
Scott, before you move on that,
Yes.
so I want to make sure you're addressing this and polling places because as you know, I've talked to the registrar, Debbie Cooper, about having the importance of having many more early voting locations.
Supervisor Joya, let me do my next slide or two.
Okay, good.
I anticipate your question.
Got it.
Okay, next slide, please. Okay, here we go. On election day, in addition to the 16 early voting sites, we will have at least 150 polling places open for voters. These largely will be the exact same locations that voters voted in March. Now, we've lost a few locations that aren't available, but we have reasonable solutions for those voters as well. So Supervisor Joya, we are responsive to the concerns that you raised, and to make sure that all of our voters have an opportunity to vote. We have this expansive in-person voting opportunity for everyone. Now, having said that, we really hope that most people vote the ballot that we sent by mail because we believe it to be the safest thing from a public health perspective. But we understand that there are needs and situations where people need to vote in person. So we are going way out of our way. And we're able to do that actually because our polling places have been extremely willing and flexible to work with us and to continue to offer their locations. And they've done it at an unexpectedly high rate. Similarly, our poll workers have responded at a surprisingly high rate, saying that they will continue to work and they will commit to work in March, which is what has allowed us to expand the number of locations here. So at every polling place is going to be the same as any polling place is for any other election. There'll be hand-marked paper ballots available, and there'll be machine-marked ballots. The only thing that's really different, besides PPE and distancing at these polling places, is we are moving from a paper roster to sign in and verify voters to an electronic system that real-time can verify the status of a voter and tell us what ballot style the voter needs. And any voter will be able to vote any ballot at any location. And this will eliminate the need for almost all provisional ballots. And it will also give us near real-time turnout information and data so that if we see that a location is experiencing an increased turnout or flood, we're able to respond proactively to get help out there or to redirect voters to places that don't have a line. So this is a huge upgrade to our capacity and is a great service to our voters. But I just want to point out that people who volunteer to work at the polls during this pandemic are true heroes. They're drawn from some of the most vulnerable population that is there, but they're willing to do this because of their commitment to democracy. And it's the same with our staff. They are committed to do their part to ensure that every voter in Contra Costa County gets an opportunity to vote and can have confidence that their votes will be counted. Okay, next slide. Okay. So we also received a lot of questions about, is it secure? And Supervisor Joya spoke about some of the comments by the president about the reliability and security of vote by mail. But I want you to know that we are very good at vote by mail. And I just want to kind of walk you through some of the steps and that we go through, because I found as people understand what goes on behind the scenes, it really boosts their confidence. So next slide. Okay, so every day we pick up ballots from the post office, we pick up ballots from our drop boxes and bring them to our facility on Marina Vista in Martinez. Okay, next slide. Go ahead and hit play. If it's there, there we go. So the first thing that happens when we get the envelopes is they go through this sorting machine that takes a picture of the voter's signature and the voter's information and sends it to our voter registration system. Next slide. Which presents the voter's signature to us to review and to compare. So this is an example. This is a mock-up, obviously, because Mickey and Minnie really aren't voters in Contra Costa County. We all know they're registered in Orange County. But it compares the signature on file, which is the upper signature, to the signature off of the envelope that just was scanned on that machine, which is the lower signature. And the comparison is made, and this represents some of the situations that come up. In the first example, Minnie's signature does not match. It might match. It might still be Minnie. We're going to let Minnie know that we have an issue with her signature and give her a chance to cure it, but we're not going to process that ballot until it's cured. Mickey's ballot, on the other hand, is a match. That's going to continue on through the process. You see Sally signed Scrooge McDuck's ballot, so it's not the right person. So we're going to reach out to Scrooge and give him a chance to cure that situation. But we're also going to look for Scrooge's ballot, or Scrooge's signature on Sally's ballot. So we're going to try to do that, compare and match them up. And if we can, then we will count both of them. If not, we give them both an opportunity to correct the situation. And Scooby forgot to sign his ballot. So Scooby's going to be notified that his ballot that he didn't sign his ballot. He's going to be given a chance to sign and return a letter so we can cure that situation and allow his ballot to be counted. We do this for every envelope that comes back. Voters really don't believe it. It's extremely intensive. Things go through multiple reviews before they are rejected, and voters are all given a chance to correct the situation. But one of the things, and we've been getting a lot of questions from voters about this. One of the things we're advising voters is, if you're not sure how your signature appears in your registration, look at your driver's license, because chances are we have your driver's license signature on file. And if you sign the way you signed your driver's license, everything is going to be great. You're not going to have any problem. If there is an issue, we will let voters know. It's important that voters understand that we do not willy-nilly disqualify, throw out, don't count, vote by mail ballots. We do everything we can to qualify them and to include reaching out multiple times to voters to give them a chance to cure any problems that come up. Okay, next slide. Okay, this is a video. If you could hit play again. Okay, so once the signatures have been verified and the ballot has been qualified to be counted, we have to open them up. Then we have to remove the ballot cards. In this election for November, we expect there to be 5 cards in each voter's ballot. Okay, next slide. Okay, and hit play. So the process of removing the envelopes, the ballots from the envelopes and accounting for everything is a very manual process. You might want to can you hit that again? Let people see that one more time. So this is sped up only slightly, because we work really hard and really fast to have everything ready to be counted. Now this function here, if you notice, this is not, there's no social distancing here. There's no PPE, there's no protection. We have leased a giant gymnasium that has the equivalent square footage of 4 basketball courts across the street from our office near Amtrak. And we will be doing the same function with people with social distancing starting a week before the election. So in the past, we tried to do it in one day, but as part of the COVID precautions, we're extending it out over time, and we are changing the location where this function actually occurs. Okay, next slide. Okay, and this is animated too. So this is the process of actually scanning and counting the ballots. We have 4 of these high-speed scanners that we count all the ballots on. Now, because this is a 6-card ballot, and we expect to have at least 500,000 people vote. Actually, we expect a lot more than that. But that puts us at between 3 and 4 million cards that we have to scan in order to produce election reports and election results. We are very efficient in our workflows and in how we do that. Like I said, we're very good at it. But it's a lot of work to do all of these things and to do them in a way that voters can have confidence. So by the way, everything that you've seen here, you can come visit live. And anyone who has any concerns or has any interest in how we do things are welcome to come and watch as we perform these tasks. Okay, next slide. Okay, and once all the ballots are scanned, we're not done. This one's not animated. We have to reconcile and balance everything to make sure that we didn't miss anything. We didn't count something twice that shouldn't have been counted. So we spend almost 30 days doing this audit to make sure that the final certified returns are accurate. Okay, next slide. Okay, so just in review, I see there's a number of questions that have come in the chat, and I'll happily address those in a second. But for most voters, there's not going to be any visible changes. Most of the changes are behind the scenes. We are prepared, and we actually had the infrastructure in place to deal with potential